Dustin McCrary is the founder and leading practitioner of the law firm of Dustin S. McCrary. Here he discusses the process of obtaining an absolute divorce in the state of North Carolina. Hi, I'm Dustin McCrary. I'm the proud founder of the law firm of Dustin S. McCrary, and I'm passionate about helping clients through the divorce process smoothly, successfully, and with hope for the next chapter. Today, I'd like to talk to you about absolute divorce, what it is, and how it works in North Carolina. First things first, you might be asking yourself, what is an absolute divorce anyway? The answer is really fairly simple. In North Carolina, an absolute divorce is a status change. It's simply the process, the official legal act that changes you from being a married person one day to a single person the next. It does not impact or affect other issues that people often associate with divorce, issues like property division, child custody, or alimony. It's a simple, narrow process. Before we go any further in discussing the absolute divorce process, it's important to note that if you do have other issues that need to be resolved, claims for alimony or custody issues, or issues of property division, you want to address and resolve those matters first. Not doing so can cause you to forfeit important rights that you might otherwise want to assert. Once you've done so, you can move forward with the process. To obtain an absolute divorce, there are two basic requirements that you need to fulfill. The first is that you and your spouse must have been legally separated for at least 1 year with the intent not to resume your marriage. The element of intent can be confusing to some people, and this is understandable. Essentially, though, what it means is that at least one spouse has decided to remain permanently apart. It's not necessary that both spouses want the separation or eventually a divorce. The intent of one spouse is sufficient. It also means living separate and apart in different residences. Sometimes couples wonder if they can simply sleep in separate bedrooms or spend time in different parts of the house. This is not advised and may be viewed questionably by a court. Living separate and apart is best. When we consider the realities of living separate and apart in this way, it's important that we don't disregard the realities of human nature. The truth is that sometimes over the course of a year, there may be isolated instances of sexual contact. There may be the occasional conversation where you wonder if you've made the right choice. Typically, these isolated instances do not restart the clock and cause a couple to begin the 1-year separation again. A question that I'm often asked is, how do we prove that we've been separated for a year? This is a good question. And the answer to that in North Carolina is that you aren't required to prove your date of separation by any means other than swearing to it, either by testifying to it in court or attesting to it in your paperwork. Often the answer to this question leads to a second question. Do we really need to separate for a year? Can't we just say that we did? I always caution people against lying generally, and particularly in a legal document or under oath. In North Carolina, those found guilty of doing so can be convicted of perjury, which could mean prison time. It's simply not worth it. You may think that your spouse will keep the secret with you, and that may be true. But it's also true that at some point your soon-to-be ex-spouse might be upset with you. Certainly happens a lot during and following a divorce. You don't want your ex-spouse to know that you've committed a felony or be able to use that against you. It simply isn't worth it. Wait for the full year to run, and then proceed with your divorce according to the law. The second step of the absolute divorce process is completing the necessary procedural steps involved. First, one party files a document called a complaint against the other. A complaint is a simple form that states the facts. You separated more than a year ago with the intent to remain separated and that you now wish to obtain a divorce. That document is then filed with the court. A filing fee is paid, and the complaint is then served upon the other spouse. That's often done by either certified mail or through the sheriff's office. After service is completed, there's always some sort of court process involved, and the exact procedure typically differs by county. Some counties will require you to appear in court in person, while others will simply request that you deliver the papers and take care of the formalities with the court clerk. At that point, the divorce will be granted. Typically, this is a very quick and smooth process from beginning to end. After it's concluded, you're officially considered divorced under the eyes of the law. You're free to change your name at the time of the divorce and go back to your maiden name or even a prior married name if there are children by that prior marriage. Out of all the processes that someone can go through as part of a divorce, absolute divorce is one of the simplest. But the truth is that even simple legal matters can often take complicated turns. Talking to a lawyer before you go through any legal process is ideal, and it's always recommended. There are many resources on this site that you can refer to for knowledge and for general guidance, but they're never a substitute for professional representation by an attorney who understands how the law applies to your personal circumstances. While absolute divorce is a fairly straightforward process, there are always areas in which you can make mistakes. You don't want to forfeit valuable rights you might have under the law, or make an error that could end up being quite costly. We would be happy to guide you through this process and any other part of your divorce. It would be our privilege to help you through this process and on to your next new chapter. Call us anytime.